All right, YouTube, Repo Man 64. I'm going to try to do this without a Bluetooth, with Bluetooth off, and maybe that'll help with the audio. I don't know. I guess we'll see if it has no audio. You're not going to hear me say this anyway, so it won't matter. I found a couple of things I thought was super interesting. That's why I'm bringing it to you. What time is it? 8:11. I hope Commander Kelly does a video tonight. I'll be looking forward to that. These things that I found I think would interest you. Anybody who's into doing timelines and stuff would be, I think, interested in this. Remember, I brought you in the last video the fourth watch. There are 4 seasons. This season ends on December the 16th based on the timeline that I use. It starts on March 16th. It ends on December the 15th, begins the 4th watch or the 4th season on December the 16th. So I showed you that last video. I also did math from December the 15th. Now remember, Hanukkah ends on nightfall of December the 15th. December the 16th will be the day after Hanukkah. So whatever we're going to see happen, if it were to happen during Hanukkah, now is when we would see it on this last day. I'm going to show you why I think, well, I showed you last video, why I think that when God looks at a week from Tuesday to Tuesday, Sunday to Sunday, he says in the self same day, and he also looks at it or views it as the same day. Because you see in the account of Noah, he said this self same day that Noah entered the ark, the flood came. But yet we see where a week earlier, God told him, get in the ark because in 7 days I will flood it. So he refers to the entire period of time as the 8 days from Tuesday to Tuesday. That's 8 days. And that's what he does. So here we have 2,550 days at the end of Hanukkah, coming back around to the beginning of Hanukkah in the year 2030. I also noticed that from October the 6th, actually October the 7th, I'm off by a day here because when they invaded Israel, it was October the 7th at 6 a.m. But from October the 7th at 6 a.m., it's 70 days until the end of Hanukkah, which the end of Hanukkah begins December the 16th. So it's 70 days. I thought that was pretty profound that I show you that. Now let me show you something here, which I have to ask, and Sister Sandy's been helping me out quite a bit, but I have to ask her for one more favor, and I'll show you right now. There are 3 tabernacles that we see. I don't know if anybody can find another tabernacle, but so far I've found 3. The first one is the one we all know. It's tabernacles. This is the day Jesus was born. 8 days later, it's confirmed when he is circumcised and named. So he is circumcised and named on October the 8th, which means October the 7th, when they were invaded, they didn't actually complete this tabernacle. They didn't actually finish this tabernacle. I heard that from another YouTube, which I thought was very interesting. This tabernacle was not completed because they couldn't enjoy it. The great 8th day did not happen for them. We go on down the timeline here and we find another one. This is the day Noah was told to get into the ark on October the 25th, Heshvan 10. I've put 7 days here because he says, in yet 7 days I will flood the earth. But he's referring to the following day. It was the self same day. And if you go on your calendar, October the 25th and November the 1st, remember Halloween is October the 31st at nightfall here, which means it's November the 1st in Israel, and that is actually 8 days. So he told Noah, get into the ark, for in yet 7 days I will flood the earth. But it's actually 8 days because this is the self same day. And what happens when they go into the ark? They are going into a temporary dwelling. They are going into a tabernacle. We have tabernacle number 2. That's what tabernacles is. They built tents, they tabernacled in those tents, and they stayed in those tents throughout tabernacles. And it's an 8-day feast, the great 8th day. On the great 8th day, God flooded the world. Now, Commander Kelly found this one. He found out that Hanukkah, because they didn't have the temple built in time, he has been able to relate Hanukkah to the celebration of tabernacles. And he shows it through the Bible much better than I do. That began on December the 8th. December the 7th at nightfall, December the 8th being the first day of tabernacles. That's the day we all thought this has to be it. But God views this, and you see in these past 2 examples, he's born, and then 8 days later he's named and he is circumcised. This is on the 8th day. Same thing happens with Noah's flood. He is told to get into the ark and he sits there for 8 days. And on the 8th day, God floods. And here we go again. Hanukkah does begin on December the 8th, but it ends on December the 15th at nightfall, which is December the 16th starts something new. We have 8 days. In the middle of Hanukkah, we see that the 40 days expired, and that is the end of the flood. Now, the ark stays up there for another 110 days. I always wondered what those 110 days meant. It's kind of weird that he would split up the 150 days to 40 and 110. And I think I found something in relation to that. But we're looking at, and I believe God looks at this entire feast as a day, because it starts on a day and it ends on that same day a week later. So we have, based on biblical stuff from previous, we have that relationship we can look at. Now, Hanukkah will end. This is also the day that Adam was removed from the garden. He spent 7 years and 47 days in the garden before he was removed. He sinned 47 days earlier on Halloween, or November the 1st. 47 days later, he is removed from the garden. Okay. Let's keep going here. Now, the Olivet Discourse. Everybody should be looking at the Olivet Discourse. And I found something kind of cool about this. Okay? And kind of proud of myself, kind of patting myself on the back. Somebody sent me this, and when I looked at it, I was like mind blown by it. So I want to show you something from the Olivet Discourse, and you tell me what you think. And he sat upon the Mount of Olives, and the disciples came unto him privately, saying, Tell us, what shall these things be, and what shall be the sign of thy coming, and the end of the world? And he goes through the whole Olivet Discourse, and what's at the very end? But of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. So we've battled back and forth. We've gone back and forth on this conversation about that. Well, I mean, you can't say Jesus didn't know. I think it's a tongue-in-cheek. Check this out. If you will follow the Julian calendar, the Jewish calendar, if you'll follow that calendar, look what happens. This is crazy. Somebody sent me this. This guy, Mark, Ordauer, the chair of the Department of Mathematics and Computer Science at Randolph College, explains how the Hebrew calendar lines up against the Gregorian calendar we use today, making it so Hanukkah moves back a little each year. Eventually, and look at this. This is impossible that this happens. Eventually, in 3031, the difference will be so pronounced that Hanukkah for that year will actually start on January 3032. There will be no Hanukkah in 3031. 3031 is the end of the age, the end of the world. That's when the world ends. That's when God's going to create a new heaven and a new earth, and the holy city that we will be residing in for 1,000 years will set down here on earth. There is no Hanukkah in 3031. Is it a tongue-in-cheek? Is it that they can't know because there is no Hanukkah? Because everything that we see happening happens at the Feast of Dedication. I don't know. You tell me what you think. I just thought that was incredible. So when Jesus said nobody knows because there is no Hanukkah, it's going to happen it should happen during Hanukkah, but it can't because in 3031 there is no Hanukkah. So as of right now, as we understand it, and the end of the world, but of that day and hour knoweth no man, no, not the angels of heaven, but my Father only. There is no Hanukkah in 3031, the end of the world. That kind of blew my mind. Yes, that keeps happening. And I'm going to show you why I think that might keep happening. Remember what I showed you up front at the head of this video was that it was 70 days from when Israel was invaded to the end of Hanukkah. Remember that. There it is. I guess I took a better screenshot. From October the 7th to December the 15th, it is 70 days from when Israel was invaded. Now remember, October the 8th would be the last day of tabernacles. They didn't get to celebrate the last, or maybe 7th is, but they didn't finish celebrating the last day because they were invaded. And it ties the two feasts together, the two tabernacles together, the one that we all know and the one that Cool Cat pointed out, and he tied it together, showed very well, put it all on a nice little ribbon for us, how, yes, that the Feast of Dedication is a tabernacle. They tabernacled because they built the temple. All right. Notice this. 70 days from when they were invaded, on the last day of tabernacles to the last day of the Feast of Dedication, 70 days. Notice this. The following day, December the 16th, the day after the Feast of Dedication ends, after Hanukkah, you go 40 days and you land on January 25th. You don't know what that means yet, but I'm going to show you. Yeah, this is me at work doing some rudimentary math. October the 8th, up there you see you have 1638 and then the 3 8s on the side of how long all those dates add up to. I believe it was 70. But then I just did math from October the 7th, when they were invaded, to December the 16th, and you saw the outcome. And then from December the 16th to January the 25th is another 40 days. Now add those two together, you come up with 110. Remember, Noah was in the ark. It rained for 40 days. He rose up for 40 days, and then the rain stopped. And he stayed up there floating for 110 days before the rain began, or the water began to recede, which it began to recede 150 days after the flood began, and it began to recede the moment Jesus, in its anniversary, or previous, actually this is previous to the cross, it is a picture pointing us to the cross. At that moment is when the water began to recede, and then 3 days later, when Jesus rose, is when it set down on Mount Ararat. All right. Oh, I actually put it here. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month and 17th day, which is Halloween, of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were opened, and the rain was upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. It rained 40 days and 40 nights. And then I showed you this. Let's see, what did I... in this... Okay, so in the self-same day, I wanted to point out that Noah, in fact, entered on the same day that God told him to get into the ark. The self-same day, meaning if he told him to get in there on a Tuesday, that on the Tuesday is when the rain began. So here Noah entered the ark. Let's see, what do we have here in John 10? Therefore they sought again to take... Oh, all right. So, and I learned this from another YouTube channel. Therefore they sought again to take him, but he escaped out of their hand. He escaped, and they related that word escaped as a rapture. Jesus was there. He was at the Feast of Dedication. He proclaimed himself to be God, And they sought to stone him, but something happened where they couldn't find him because he had escaped. Who knows if he went invisible or if he just transfigured from that spot to another. He's God, he can do whatever he wants, but this wasn't his time to die, so he escaped out of their hand. And this is when it was, John 10, this is when it was at the Feast of Dedication, and it was winter. This is Hanukkah that it's talking about. All right. Anybody see this? The news, this Turkish lawmaker has a heart attack after saying Israel will suffer the wrath of Allah. And he had a heart attack. Who's suffering? You know how many times we've seen this where somebody gets on stage and just makes fun of God somehow or does something, and then they just fall over, pass out, have a heart attack? I mean, when are people going to wake up to recognize who's actually in charge of all of this? So I wanted to point that out to you. I thought that was pretty cool. We have 3 tabernacles. They fall a specific amount of time apart. It adds up to 70 days. And then we have, I remember the 40 days. I left you hanging on that. Hold on one second. Let me show you what that January 25th means here real quick. All right, so I counted 70 days from when Israel was attacked back here on October the 7th. If you go 70 days, you're going to land right here on December the 15th. I showed that to you. Now let's count another 40 days. And where do we land? On the Enoch timeline, we land on Shavat 11. Shavat is the 11th month. It's 11/11. It lands on January 25th. If this had landed anywhere else, which it could have, but it continues and continues and continues to match the timeline, starting the year on March 17th. It lands 4 days before the Festival of Trees, which happens on Shavat 15, which is January 29th. Something big is going to happen on January 25th. If we go 40 days earlier on December the 15th, 16th, or at nightfall in Israel on the 15th, then something else enormous, and that's why I think we've all been seeing this 11/11. We've been seeing it. Now, I talked about this last year, but just like a combination to a safe, dialing it in on a safe, you have to pass that number sometimes, and then you have to come back to another number, and then you pass a couple times and you go to another number. So I think it's just all dialing in, honestly. And it has to be 2023 because the Psalms line up with 2023, because the 6,000 years lines up with 2023, because the 2,000 years since Christ lines up with 2023, because 1948 to 2023 is the same age that Abraham was when he crossed into Canaan, 75. Everything we're seeing lines up with 2023. It does not line up with 2024. We're like, what are we, 2 weeks away, 2.5 weeks away from the new year? We're coming to the very end of this. And I wonder if there's something in the Psalms, I haven't read it, in Psalms, what is it, 122, 123, that might explain why this guy has a heart attack after he says Israel's going to pay. Israel's not going to pay. They're not going to pay. God is going to take their side and he's going to take them out. And so we pray for Israel. We support Israel 110% blindly. Sorry, but that's what the Bible says. Because if you go against Israel, you go against God. And you're not going to see this guy falling over with a heart attack watch me have a heart attack right now, right? You're not going to see that because I'm not going to go against God or Israel. I love God and respect his word so much, and I'm just one of those people that are trying to figure this out. I just hold one piece of the puzzle, and there's just so many pieces of the puzzle, and we all kind of working together. So Repo Man 64, like, comment, share, and subscribe. Go to a quiet place by yourself. Nobody needs to know, and you don't need to tell anybody, and accept the Lord in your heart, and then go tell everybody. And warn somebody that if you see me go, I was at work today, and they're so tired of hearing me say it, but I did. And I'm like, if you guys see me go, if you see me go on the 15th, that's it. You know, that's what happened. And they're like, okay, you've said that 100 times on different days before. I'm like, oh, I know. But one of these days is going to happen. So even though it appears as though people might be tired of hearing you say it, when it finally does happen, this massive event, they're going to know exactly what happened. And that's the most important thing, is the tribulation saints get to hear and know what exactly happened. So, all right, let me get off here. Hopefully this video uploads with audio. If it doesn't, you can't hear me to tell you that I will go live tomorrow with it. You guys, and everything's in reverse. So LIVE live tomorrow. Alrighty, yes, I speak Spanish and sign language, but only with my hands. I don't know how to do the body stuff, just my hands. I know the alphabet with my hand. So, all right, RepoMind64 will chat with you tomorrow. I keep saying that, but I keep having this feeling like we might not be here tomorrow. But then again, I'll chat with you in heaven, right? I'll see you there. I keep getting invited to all these mansions. I'm just like, really? Hot dogs? But there'll be the best hot dogs ever. And then another one's having, I think Chooch is having lobster. I'm going to that. And then I think that Gina is going to have a pool party, so I'm kind of excited about that. You know, so it's just, I'm never going to see my own mansion because I've been invited to so many mansions, and I just have to go. I mean, I have to go. You know, after we've been through this mess, we're going to be buds for the rest of our lives. That's came out wrong. We're going to be buds for all eternity. And hopefully I don't wear thin on people. This guy's over here again trying to eat hot dogs. When's he going to go home? I don't think that'll happen. So, all right, we'll chat with you again later. I'm coming by your mansion, so, you know, I can't even, it's just so huge to even contemplate. It's just so huge. Just think about that, you know, it's huge. All right, we'll chat with you again later.